played in, he would have seen quite a bit from Mkers and what they're all about, and already what they've shown us against Parabellum was a very clean Villa, especially whenever it got into their defensive half.
Yeah, it really did. I think, you know, for me, one of my concerns maybe coming into this as, you know, having casted Stage 1 and the Copa Elite 6 over inside of LATAM, NIP, they didn't have the greatest of seasons over inside of Stage 1. They really struggled. They managed to scrape through and get themselves where they needed to be. But overall, it wasn't the performance that we were expecting from them. And there are some sort of issues revolving around timing at the moment that we see NIP struggling with on their attacks quite regularly. Villa, it can be a map where, whilst attacking rounds are there for the taking, they're not freely given, and it can be very difficult to start to try and deal with that. With the way that we saw Mkers aggressively playing over on the defence, there could be a butting of two heads here, but I do believe we are just about ready to throw on into this one. We are going to be heading over to Villa, NIP versus Mkers here.
Like you alluded to, Ollie, NIP having a pretty underwhelming season inside of Brazil in Copa Elite 6. They were knocked out very early on, did not get a chance to really fight for that title of the best team in LATAM. Liquid ended up winning that competition. NIP have already played today up against Giants, and they did win that game 7 rounds to 4. But a lot of it came down to Pino especially, and I kind of look at NIP and I think if Pino and Muzi don't show up, what happens to that team?
It can be a little bit of a factor. Often you'll see, you know, Kamikaze finding himself in a pretty tough situation there on that support role. There's quite a few times I can recall where he's left as almost the last guard there, especially on the attack. But we'll have to see how this game shapes on through. The bans coming in thick and fast here. Nomad, Hibana, Valkyrie and Malusi to round things out. I believe they're the same bans that we saw Mkers pick in the first game as well here on Villa. The Hibana, Valkyrie, Nomad and Malusi there getting removed. Interestingly, Malusi not really played too much by Mkers. It was a comment you made in the Parabellum game. So maybe that's a ban that they're going to be quite happy with and comfortable with.
Seen a little bit from kind of the end half of their defense, but no, didn't really bring it out to begin with. And, well, we will see a ban off it this time around. In terms of NIP and how they're going to do on the defense, I assume quite well. I think defense has always been much better for NIP. I think if you've got your players such as Muzi on the Jaeger, he can just roam about, especially a map like Villa. Ollie, that's going to be extremely fortunate that he's been able to get brought onto a massive map with so many rotations, so many staircases.
Yeah, Muzi and Psycho getting themselves out there as that little roaming duo. Pino has been known to stretch his legs as well, so a lot of potential here to get a nice little roam off, and that's kind of reflected in the ban there, Demo. They've taken away the Nomad.
It's good to see that we haven't had any TKs from the smoke.
10 seconds to insertion.
Good start. Parabellum, take notes. This is how you do it. Actually, a very similar setup to almost what kind of Parabellum went for earlier as well, but one change that I would have made with Parabellum was they put the second mirror window also on the triple wall beside the first one. NIP this time going to use the mirror window to actually help the roam game over towards the trophy statue, which I like a lot more.
It's a much more common mirror window to see. Back inside of LATAM, we saw NIP play W7M, and this was a mirror window we saw quite regularly. Also, don't be surprised at some point if we do go to some of those off-sites, we could end up on Library here as the game starts to develop, especially with that's mirror being available. That is really what these Latin American teams like to bring here, is they bring that mirror and they look to heavily contest out on this roam game. Gemini, he's got himself down below. Mkers are known for getting that vertical control, trying to get the book in underneath, running a lot of soft destruction there on the side as well, so they've got all the potential to try and open up these vertical angles, get grenades thrown on through, but they are being challenged. Psycho, he's dug himself down on those main stairs.
Mkers did a very similar thing with their attacks last game on Villa, all about that vertical destruction, being able to go below, utilize the nades, get the skeleton key working with the buck. One thing we must also keep in mind, Ollie, is that this is the first time either side have ever went up against each other as well, so it is going to be a very new and fresh matchup. I mean, Mkers never played a Brazil side. I don't think Brazil have ever played an Italian side, so yeah, it's new for everyone.
So far, a bit of chip damage being dealt on either side, but Pino going to come in with an opener there. Traded out instantly by Acqui inside of Study there. Paid for it with a little bit of his health, as Julio has also got himself pretty low, looking to try and add on to that, playing that mirror window. Main stairs still being vied for here. Missed flash there, that could be costly. Psycho's able to pick up Acqui as he rotates out of Study. Mkers trying to apply pressure from another angle, but look at how much utility there is to wade through here. There's magnets, there's ADSs, there's a swing, he finds one, but Lolo in with an instant trade. Now sitting on 1 health, he's going to get taken down vertically as well, as Sasha is left as the last man standing here for Mkers.
Too much utility. Mkers cannot deal with it. Must be at least 2 ADSs, at least 3 Wamai discs as well set up, and yeah, that's something you're not getting through, and Will Muzi finishes off the round. Sasha, no chance with that one. NIP, a very decisive round for them. Nothing to worry about, it appears, for the Brazilian side.
Nothing too much indeed there. They're going to be pretty happy with that setup as well. That main stairs control, Psycho able to play there for pretty much the majority of the round. Deployable shield, 3 ADSs demo. All 3 ADSs played on those main stairs. And, of course, Psycho was playing Wamai, so he has the magnets that generate over time. A couple of those tossed out there as well. He could have played there all night.
Could have indeed. But it was only just for the 1 round. Unless we see that site again, which more than likely we will, but this time we will be seeing a different bomb site. It's going to be Kitchen, not the typical trophy statuary, which is what we're used to seeing as the second pick bomb site. This is usually your third pick, but they're going for it anyway. Look at the lineup. A lot of exotic operators we're seeing. Obviously, Arune is there as well, which we know has had a little bit of feature with Parabellum. They were trying to use it as more of a utility dump operator, where you had to burn up some projectiles to get through them. Frost it's not even like niche anymore to see a Frost. It's actually very, very common. Just that one little change with a sidearm shotgun is enough to just excel this operator.
And that's exactly what they're doing here. They're not bringing the smoke, they're not bringing the mute, they're not bringing the typical setup shotgun, so you're going to have to make do with the TCSG that Kamikaze's rocking, and of course the secondary shotgun on the side of the Frost. And I beat a team that are very quick to adapt, Demo, and I'm just wondering if this site choice is kind of in response to how Mkers were able to attack onto that trophy and statuary site. We've seen them instantly go for this, you know, it's a second pick, it can be a third pick, but typically you would expect to go upstairs to trophy and statuary, but NIP, no doubt in their minds of where they're going and how they are trying to play this. They are going to be a nightmare to try and pin down.
What about the Alibi? An operator that is very, very rare to see and hasn't used any of his gadgets as well. His prismas are still up and haven't been used, which is a bit of a surprise. We usually see at least some of them. Perhaps maybe just brought for the shield, but surely you could bring other operators that could also supply more with their gadget and also bring a shield. Maybe for the gun, maybe for the roam potential?
Maybe for the gun, maybe for the MX4 Storm and the little bailiff as well. It gives you a nice couple of options there. Could, of course, be choosing to hold them in pocket and deploy them at a likely time, but at the moment, pretty slow progress from Mkers as they're kind of getting themselves in now. We've got Gemini just going to lock off the flank there on the east stairs. Pino kind of keeping his eye on the balcony, making sure that no one is going to get in for free, or that if they do, he has at least a chance. Lolo's got himself into Astro, though, and he's going to be able to start opening up a lot of that floor with the skeleton key. It's going to make things quite awkward. Kamikaze, the sole player on site at the moment.
So upstairs, in control for Mkers, and this is where the vertical game comes in. Very, very big for the attackers. And as you can see, NIP are happy enough to give control to Mkers, as most of them are not even inside of the site. They are roaming away and trying their best to keep out of those vertical lines. First blood does come in for NIP, and Sasha is off the board. The Maverick gone. That was the only way they could ever really open up that main laundry wall. So, Mkers are going to have to play with no hard breach now.
It's not going to be easy for them at all. They've got all this floor open and they've got the angles, but let's face it, there's not that many players in the actual site for NIP. They're all playing in lurking positions off-site and just ready to strike if required. Gemini still trying to find some success, but as the time continues to tick, with only 20 seconds left, it's going to be a rush through single doorways. Lolo takes a huge chunk of damage. Pino finds his second over onto Scato. A swing from Akwi is going to secure him one, but isn't going to be enough. The diffuser's going down. Gemini's gone massive. Pino and Psycho, it's time to step up. That plant has been successful. Now Psycho finds himself one. Pino's on for a triple. Going to have to aggressively try and push on to this one. Lolo, he's got himself outside. It's a 2 versus 1. Psycho could just try and get this disable off. Lolo has got information on it, goes for the swing, loses the gunfight. A quad kill for Pino. Psycho gets the disable. NIP take round number 2.
Pino, there he is. The player for NIP who's always been that knight in shining armor that we look to. Yeah, this is smelling bad for Mkers. I mean, if you have your Pino showing up like that, that's going to be very, very difficult to come back from.
Pino on a little bit of a tear there, really giving us a bit of a Frost masterclass with the old 9mm. Lolo in such a tough spot as well. The plant's gone down. A lot of the hard work there has been done, but all the kills just lost in the dying moments, especially Akwi trying to get himself back outside, knowing he couldn't just sit there and fight, getting that advantage and being able to then sort of trade off onto peaks, trying to peek the person that's trying to disable that planted diffuser. But as it stands, we move on now into round number 3. Trophy room and statuary going to be the third choice site here from NIP.
Yeah, one thing about last round is Gemini's the guy that we look to for Mkers now to make those plays. He made another one of those plays, being able to pick up that double kill, just alleviated a lot of the pressure that was currently being done by NIP onto primarily the defuse carriers. So with Gemini being able to step up and find that double kill, it just opened things up. And again, Mkers, you have to commend them for how quick they can adapt and how quick they can just simply get into the bomb site and go for that defuse.
Kamikaze has been droned on this, but it's always a big but. I think he's probably still going to go for it. He's just going to bide his time. Goes out there for the C4 toss. It is going to swing on through. Gemini, how do you not take any damage there? One of those that looks a little bit closer than it is in reality, but that just goes to show the confidence here on the side of NIP.
Talk about confidence. Akwi is in, causing a ruckus from below, and Pino has been eliminated. Akwi, he needs to find Pino every single round if Mkers stand a chance of taking down this LATAM giant in NIP. Keep in mind, these are still the same runner-ups from, of course, last Invitational.
Deploying a drone.
Starting from a man down this time with Pino being shut down. He was currently the kill leader on the side of NIP. Chance now for one of his teammates to overtake him here, but Mkers seem to be taking a moment to breathe, recognizing that they've gotten themselves an opening pick. They don't want to try and get too unnecessarily aggressive onto this. Just get the drones going out there, gather some of that information. They've still got plenty of time and drones to be able to do both of those things with.
Mkers going for that bedroom take. No surprise here. They're just going to try and probe the windows and see if anything from NIP to really worry about. And at the moment, the only thing I would say would be Julio. Inside a bathroom, has that Scorpion. Not the greatest of weapons at long distance, but close range, boy, it can shred you in an instant. The nade's been fired out. Again, Scato, I think, and his nade play has been very good today, and he's still doing the business, being able to clear out Julio, and now Mkers, they have a foothold. Look at this. Akwi and Muzi, a cat and mouse is on, and Akwi finds them. He's probably calling for his teammate to hop on his drone, and this has to be an easy kill for Akwi, you would expect.
Akwi is on the hunt here, going to be able to find a nice freebie there over onto Muzi, just getting caught out on that roam game. It's 2 kills so far for Aqui. He got the opener quite explosively and then successfully been able to drone and gain another kill. He can now start to think about pressuring up into Astronomy, and I kind of worry for some of this utility. All that NIP have got is laser gates. That's the only thing they've got to stop these throwables, and there's still 2 nades in the hands of Sasha. They could be put to really good use here in these dying few seconds. One of the nades is going to get cooked and tossed on through now. It does miss its mark there, but Gemini doesn't. Takes the head over off Psycho. Aqui going for a bit of an off angle there, I think it's fair to say, trying to cover Sasha as he's looking to confirm that plant. It's looking like it could be a flawless here for Mkers as Julio is left in the 1 versus 5.
What's he looking at, Birds?
Defuser's down. He's quite concerned with Wolf Window, but I think he's maybe starved for intel here. The Scorpion isn't going to do him any favors. Gemini finding that final frag out of nowhere. A flawless for Mkers.
Aqui, wow. Plays from him, being able to find those first 2 kills was incredible. Something that was definitely needed for Mkers. And, well, that's their first round on the board. NIP, a little bit weak there in terms of their own game, not being able to find that early information and really trying to shut down Aqui. And the thing about Aqui as well, Ollie, is that he's by himself. Nobody's there for the refrag potential. If we can see that old 1-2 combo of Amuzi and Pino, Aqui has no chance.
It was a strange round, I think, from NIP. You highlighted it in kind of the operator picks as well. I think they've underestimated Mkers there in that round a little bit.
I don't think NIP would be the one to underestimate a team like Mkers. I think because they've had so much hype around them, you cannot ignore them. It
begged belief there that they were investing in things like Goyo shields when they're not bringing a Wamai or a Jaeger. Sure, you've got the laser gates, but there's consistently been 2 nades run on the side of Mkers. They've not run anybody hard breach-wise other than the Maverick. They haven't brought the Ace, they haven't brought the Thermite. They've constantly been running the Maverick. They're always running Scato on the Sledge. That's 4 nades. They're always running the Book. That's another 3 throwables. They're always running the Zephyr, Gemini. That's all he plays. They've always got the lifeline. There is so much out there that they can use to try and destroy these pieces of utility, and it kind of devalues something like a Goyo shield when you don't bring an ADS or a Magnet.
Mkers on attack are, I think, a little bit predictable. They don't really change anything in terms of what operators they bring. They bring their favorites. You know, we're seeing pretty much the exact same attacking lineup that we had seen them brought previously against Parabellum, and they are a very easy team to read into. But it's how individually they play. You have no idea what Aqui's going to do. You have no idea what Gemini's going to do. You might know what operator that they have, but you have no idea what or how they're going to use that operator, what way.
Well, so far, Aqui is using Ashen quite a unique way. He's actually crouch walking up some stairs, going to find himself an engagement, takes down Julio. The barbed wire wasn't enough. Psycho could be in a position to try and respond here, as Aqui has actually just dipped down onto that 2nd level. He's halfway now between the 1st floor and the basement. Muzi as well, now roaming on this ground floor, trying to find something. Pino down there as well, so the site could be a little bit light at the moment. NIP leaving a lot to do in the hands of Kamikaze.
Yeah, there is barely anyone on site for NIP now, and I think Muzi and Pino have realized that, and they're trying to get themselves back, but checking every corner because you have no idea where a Mkers player may be lurking. You still have that one roamer, of course. And Psycho's going to need to play pretty big. He's down near the pantry stairs. He's just waiting for the meantime. That Oryx, keep in mind, can jump up hatches. Knows if there's any flank protection from Mkers to begin with. They have 2 Claymores, and that's it. No Nomad being brought, because it has been banned out, of course. So, yeah, I think NIP playing very well into the whole, oh, they don't have any flank protection. Let's just roam.
Ooh, Psycho's thinking about this. You get the impression he's thinking about the little hop. He's actually going to go for it. He's going to be able to find himself the kill. You never get to see that. That's beautiful stuff there from Psycho, using the Oryx perfectly to hop up the hatch there in Master Bedroom, find himself a frag, and with a kill from Pino in the meantime, it levels things up here. In fact, it gives the advantage over toward Nip.
Kamikaze holding down the bomb site, as you would expect from the resident smoke main. Scatter, that nade's going to be caught by an ADS. Again, that main stairs is an issue for Mkers. They don't have enough utility, really, to break it down. They spent a lot of time clearing out towards the trophy statuary, and now with 30 seconds, they're going to go a little bit panic mode, I assume. He's trying his best, Lolo, over here to open up that vault, and Clear away anyone who may be lurking, and there goes the roamer again. Psycho hits him once more. This Oryx roam, a very rare sight to behold, is working extremely well. And Gemini and Scato just gonna have to walk in. Mirror window still up, and it's gonna be instantaneous death, I assume, and yes, it will be. Pino swings on through. Gemini has no chance, and Kamikaze finds the last kill. NIP, I mean, the roam game, you have to credit them, Ollie. Oryx making it work.
You really do. I mean, and it was a really good read as well, because they had so much success holding main stairs in round number 1. It was a real big point of contention for me because they weren't able to wade through the ADSs, the magnets, and the deployable shield. So NIP have said, well, you know what? They're probably not going to attack as heavily from that way, that direction. And what did we see? We saw a full roam clear come out on the side of Mkers. It played beautifully into what NIP had set up. Adaptation from both sides, but NIP one step ahead.
The thing is with Sasha as well, I think that he did hear the Oryx jump. It is actually quite
it's audible.
loud. It's very loud in terms of an audio cue, but because it probably doesn't happen that much, he probably what is? Hold on a minute. Is that an Oryx? And by the time you clock it, you're dead.
Well, he was out there on his own, so you're always a little bit worried about getting double pushed, or if someone's aggressed on through, you might not have accurate intel as to where everybody is. Yeah, it's maybe one of those where it's a bit like...
You hear somebody grunt, you think, what is that?
Yeah, do you give it a little bit of a peek and then panic, lose your gunfight, and, that's all that she wrote. I would agree with the tweet on the screen demo. Pino is showing up in a big way. He got an ace in the first game that they played against the Giants over on Coastline a couple of games ago on the A stream. Here he is now, 7-2 after, 4 full rounds. We're now getting ourselves into the 5th.
Definitely top 5 potential for the entire tournament. Top 5 players, you have to put Pino up there. Definitely. I mean, there's so much talent. It is so difficult to really predict who's going to be the top 5. We've seen so many players pop off so far, not just today, but also yesterday, Ollie. So there's too many good players.
We're going to be doing his trademark drone himself in. Scato there to open up the window so he can get himself straight on. Full mag and maximum time in the drone to gather that intel. Currently, nobody actually playing inside of Master Bedroom. Akwi may not know this as the drones are still working ahead. Pino's going to be below. He has the heartbeat sensor. He's going to be able to call out for his team. I think his C4's actually pre-placed. It isn't showing in his pocket, so maybe already got that down inside of the showers area. Akwi still looking to try and pressure down these astronomy stairs, though, but he is going to be caught out on the heartbeat scanner.
Usually teams will try and defend that top floor, and they're trying to go for a quick flank up the stairs, and Akwi knocks them all down. 2 players off the board. Julio and Pino getting carried away a little bit. Kamikaze out of nowhere with a C4. All of a sudden, it's equal in man count, and even Muzi's trying to jump on board.
Scato there going to think about cooking a nade, but decides instead he needs to make some pressure happen elsewhere. This top floor isn't being contested at the moment. No C4s left on the side of NIP. Muzi could be on for a little bit of a flank here. He's currently moving through library. His goal is probably to get himself all the way near to the astronomy stairs. If that's where a push is going to come from, it gives him the option to try and pressure that area. Fortunately for Mkers, Sasha is alive here and can use the blowtorch to actually open up on into sight.
Yeah, they didn't have this last time, Ollie. This is what they were missing, was that hard breach in the late stage. Now they can open up that laundry wall. That allows them to have much more of a clear defining chance of going for the plant. And there's Gemini. He loves a good jumping through that window. And he's in a prime position to lock out everyone from NIP, and he will do so. A great shot again, and Psycho now. He has it all to do a 1 versus 3. A nade gets cooked as well, and will that connect? He dodges away from it. Sasha will now go for the plant, and Gemini wants another kill. Sasha will get down to defuse, and now Psycho has to play in the post plant. Can he find any kills at all? Mkers have left the bomb site, and Psycho is sweating in the kitchen. If you can't handle the heat, get out of there, Psycho.
It's a tough task here for Psycho. Only 27 seconds left remaining. Of course, 7 seconds to defuse. Gemini having one of the many crossfires that were being held there. Mkers a plant and around here. And I'd say it's pretty well needed.
Yeah, Mkers again just keeping up as much as they can with NIP. Another round pulled back, and Ollie, hey, if it gets another round for Mkers here and we have an equal split, that's really difficult to call. Don't know how that one's going to end up, but hey, Aqui, again, this player for Mkers who are finding these opening picks, and him and Gemini have been phenomenal today. If you look at the kills across the board for Mkers, it's literally just them two.
Yeah, Gemini consistent through both games. I think that's something that's fair to say. Now, Aqui didn't have the greatest game earlier on against Parabellum. It was actually Sasha that stepped up. He still had moments, but he was opening death 4 rounds in a row, 3 rounds in a row. He flew out the window. There was the questionable play, and we were a little bit like, yeah, probably not feeling himself. A couple of good moments, but in this game, he's here to play, stepping up in a big way and really making that impact. Gemini, the consistent player inside of the roster so far over these two games that we've seen Mkers play. I think we are going to hit to a quick rehost there. NIP just having a couple of problems there. So we're going to choose to remake the lobby and get everybody back on in. But at the moment, I'm kind of happy with how Mkers are keeping up with this team of NIP.
They're always going to be up against it. Yeah, NIP, they are the big dogs at the end of the day. Mkers, like we've said, they're just here to play their Siege, and so far they've played very good Siege, but they need to keep that going. Of course, we have to allude to the fact that this is only the first half. We still have to see NIP on the attack and Mkers on the defense, Ollie, as well, which is something we need to keep in mind. And, well, if we look at Parabellum versus Mkers' defense was a lot stronger.
Mkers' defense was good indeed. I think we didn't get to see as much of their attacking rounds, did we, in the first game from Mkers? So they've got a bit more of an opportunity here to show us a bit more about what they are about. But so far for NIP, 3-2. We're going into round number 6 now. It's the last round until the sides do switch. So it's quite an important moment because there's potential for a 4-2 NIP, which would start to look quite good and it'd look like a bit of a lead. Or equally, Mkers level it up, take us to 3-3, and then it really could be anybody's.
Wonder how the prep work would have went for NIP in this game. I think Mkers, they're not the easiest team to prep for, Ollie, whenever they're not playing regular top-tier Siege. You can't really square them up against other big teams that you'd know much more about. So I think overall, the preparation for NIP, it would be difficult to find information on these guys. Very unpredictable coming into this matchup.
I think it's not just if you're able to find the information, it's kind of the quality of that information and where it's coming from and what it's comparable to.
Yeah.
If you're seeing Mkers go through a Challenger League qualifier like they did,
and they've beat, I know, Jim's team.
They've beat teams that are in there that are just, pick up teams or better that are trying to, give themselves a shot of Challenger League. That isn't the same as, sitting inside of EUL or LATAM or NAL and playing T1 teams week after week.
Yeah.
That information isn't the same. It's not as valuable. Mkers, they've not banned anybody in ages.
Yep,
they choose not to use their operator bans. This is the first time we're actually seeing them use operator bans. So really is wild to think. A very difficult team to prep against. I do think that we have got everybody back inside of the lobby, though. We're just going to double check everything that is okay before we throw on in, but we are but moments away.
Yeah, we'll see how NIP finish off their defensive half. One more defense for them, and haven't seen your library take for NIP yet, Ollie, that you've talked about. Where's it at?
I'm a little bit surprised we've not seen it.
When did they bring it out? Is it whenever they're panicky, or whenever they're pretty good?
It's kind of, second, third choice. It's something that just gets thrown on in there. It's a beautiful mirror window that gets set up. I hope we get to see it over the course of SI because it would be...
maybe keeping it for a rainy day.
Maybe saving it.
It should be a rainy day.
You never know.
You don't know.
It's not raining today, so it's maybe not the day to use it.
It's been rainy this week, though, hasn't it?
There has been.
For what we've seen of Paris, which has been our hotel window, and that's been about it.
Well, it's all for a good cause. We are going to jump now into round number 6. Back downstairs to kitchen. NIP, another chance here. Now, previously, it was a scrappy round demo.
Yeah.
We saw 2 kills coming in from Aqui on the entry. He was able to get both of them without really being hassled. Kamikaze came up clutch with that C4 though, and he got himself a double kill. Now, at the end of the last round, we actually saw the C4 on the ground.
Yeah.
Now, it was pre-placed, but it had been shot off from the roof, whatever, something around the ceiling had been destroyed and the C4 had then fallen. So we didn't actually get to see Pino detonate his C4 there, but still we saw 2 C4 kills come in.
Yeah, I think NIP are probably going to stay with the same idea. They're picking the pulse again because it did give them 2 kills then. If they had information that you were able to see was, oh, hey, there's 2 guys pushing Astro. They then went for a very audacious swing onto Acqui, but Kamikaze still having that information on, hey, there is still 2 people on Astro. I'm going to go for the C4, and it did give them the kills. Information is very, very key for a team like NIP, especially whenever you have this very aggressive roam game that they're trying to go for. More information is great, and I think against a team like Mkers, who so far have been pretty unpredictable in terms of where they're actually coming in from, you want that information. I think Acqui has developed into, shall we say, rat play and top of rat play. Psycho inside of the shower. Lolo and Scato both gone, and that is a horrendous start for Mkers.
How has that happened? There are 8 drones alive, guys. Surely you know that at least the room that you're going to enter into is going to be clear. Psycho's been able to dip himself back, get into astronomy. Pino able to gather all this information. And look who's gone, Demo. A book and a sledge. That is all of your hopes and dreams in terms of soft destruction shattered.
Very well be a write-off round for Mkers the way it's going, but never count this man out. Gemini, whenever the going gets tough, he gets tougher. We'll see if he can do it this time around. NIP still in that room game, lurking below. All of them have came back to the bomb site now. They're near enough round about it. They know they have the man advantage, just need to wait out and let Mkers sweat it out. Gemini, what's he looking for? Maybe some information that he's got that somebody's lurking below. Muzi will try and engage. Just backs off again. NIP playing it very safe, Ollie, which is just showing how professional they are as a team. But Sasha, that's a great nade.
Sasha makes the nade work for him. Once again, no catches aside from the magnets here available, and they generate over time. Acqui pushes himself on in aggressively, does get shut down by Julio. As Gemini and Sasha are now left in the 2 versus 3. Still very doable. Sasha with another nade that is going to be able to cook. It looks like it could have hit, but no! Fortunate stuff! It bounces off the barricade. He goes for a swing. Kamikaze hits the headshot. Defuser's called. Gemini, he's probably got intel at this point, but he's only got 18 seconds. He's not going to be able to get a plant off. Goes for a desperate attempt, but Julio is there with the headshot to close that round for NIP. They are going to finish here on defense of Villa at a 4-2 split.
Much, much better from NIP that time around. A lot more coordinated in terms of how they're setting up the crossfires. Very unfortunate nade, though, because the way I look at that nade that Sasha missed was if that connected, it would have killed the Frost, which then would have allowed Gemini just to take that one-on-one gunfight with the man in kitchen. Gemini was flicking between both. He didn't know who to go for. And hey, who knows what could have happened from there.
I was listening to Blue and Stokes casting yesterday. I can't remember which game it was, but Blue had a really good point about the way that sort of physics works a little bit differently on the land build of the game. Things like throwables behave quite differently to the way that they behave in an online environment, and obviously it's due to the fact that you're playing on very low latency here on LAN. You haven't got that action of sending a signal to a server to then for it to be received and then sent back. Things happen at a slightly different pace, so things like frag grenades, things like throwables, Sledge's hammer even works very differently here in a LAN environment than it does online. And you just sort of wonder, that's a nade that Sasha's going to nail 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
And it just clips the side of the barricade. Unfortunate stuff there for him.
And apart from the NA guys, nobody has played a LAN for over a year, so it has been quite a while to kind of make that adjustment, and even more so for a team like Mkers who have never been to a LAN event before. It is massive for them. But now they get the defense. This is where things can turn for them, but it's going to be difficult. NIP now on the attack. We know how deadly they can be. Pino on the IQ it's always a great combination.
Really is going to be able to search out plenty of that utility. Valkyrie banned, but still enough to warrant a pick here. Now, Echo's drones have changed. They are visible, but they are used now in more aggressive locations. Acqui actually going to be downstairs. I'm wondering if he's heard that, you know, Pino kind of announced himself with the breach in charge there. Akwi could be in hot pursuit. He's certainly crawling toward the right direction. He's going to get the visual confirmation that, yes, indeed, it has been opened. Maybe chooses to go on the hunt.
Pino, very quick to get in, similar to kind of the playstyle Akwi had on his attacks. And, well, Akwi at the moment, just taking his time, and I feel a bit uneasy. I really don't know how this one's going to go, Ollie. The cat and mouse is always something just at the tip of your tongue. You don't know what's going to happen. Neither side really moving, a very slow-paced round. Looking at the setup from Mkers, it's pretty default, nothing too out of the ordinary. Setting up in towards the main stairs is always a common thing. Have the walls open to support that man, making sure nobody can just rush in through study. And plenty of denial. You have the smoke and the echo, and even the maestro cams to an extent. So Mkers are definitely gearing up to try and stop any plant going down.
Pino's since got himself outside again and going to choose to rejoin the fight from elsewhere. In fact, with Muzi, as they just gun pre-fire their way through that 90 corridor, trying to sort of bait something here out of Mkers, who, let's be honest, they're playing this very conservative indeed. They're not giving anything away. But then again, no pressure has been pushed on toward that main stairs area. It is heavily fortified, but nobody choosing at the moment on the side of NIP to give it much attention. Julio just flicking through these flank drones. He is going to spot out Akwi there, but Akwi in a position to make a rotation, can get himself down into kitchen. Pino still on the hunt. There's been kind of a cat and mouse game for the entirety of the round here, Demo.
We've been in a lull for the longest of times, and nothing has really happened. Not a gunfight, no nothing for either side. And well, for NIP, they better make some of those happen with 30 seconds to go. They need to move fast. More than likely, they're going to try and go for the plant default in behind the vault door, but like we've said, plenty of denial from Mkers to stop that from happening. May it be the smokes, may it be the echo. Lolo will find the first blood. Pino, who was down there for the longest of times, is finally eliminated. And now Mkers, they have the upper hand. NIP, they don't know where to go. Finally, Julio will eliminate that roamer, and Psycho finds one as well, but it's still going to be an even man count. Mkers and NIP trading blow for blow. The defuser trying to be planted, but Kamikaze has came off the defuse. He gifted Mkers the round. And well, Ollie, game on now as Mkers take that first defense. Oh, I'm a little bit head-scratchy now. Why did he get off the defuse? Your man was right behind you.
That honestly looks like classic NIP at the moment. Time is just something that they are struggling with greatly on the attack. And that's exactly what we saw. The entire round led up to the final 30 seconds, and that's when things actually started to happen. Utility was baited out. This smoke here next to Maps was rubbish. I'm sorry, but I'm going to call it as I see it. That was a terrible smoke. Kamikaze can now plant for free. I don't know why Kamikaze actually comes off there.
Julio
is in a position to try and do something about that. Sure, he can't exactly push up into the smoke and start challenging it, but he needs to play a little bit more aggressively on there. If he can cover Kamikaze as the plant's going down, there is a chance. The smoke grenade gave a window of opportunity there. But that's what happens when you leave things to the final 10-15 seconds and you plant it on 0-0-0.
Feels like we went through a bit of a time warp. We're back in the old Vitality days. That's what that kind of take was, where you build up this entire round, all of a sudden bang, Vitality are in with a 5v5, 10-second trying to go for a plant, and that was very similar. But yeah, NIP, time not their teammate this time around. Hopefully NIP can pick up the pace, because they'll need to. Mkers, as much as you did state that, hey, they kind of gave them a bit of an opening, Mkers are equally a team that will punish you if you're not quick enough.
And let's be honest, Mkers played that really well as well. Akwi, so much patience out there on the run, just being that threat. It's a zone that I love to talk about here on Villa, and it is that basement. It is heavily underutilized, and it's brilliant to see players like Akwi using it, players like Psycho making use of it when he was on the defense playing on the Oryx. We had him down there messing around, jumping through hatches and giving us some exciting stuff to watch. And then we saw that again previously from Akwi, downstairs inside of the basement. Such a difficult place to try and get a hold of as an attacker.
Gemini has a shotgun on Legion. That is the first for me. I don't think I've ever seen a Legion shotgun in competitive, and well, we won't be seeing any Wamai this round as Pino, again, Akwi vibes I'm getting from him is just being able to creep his way into the building and find an opening kill. And Pino, I'm very impressed with the playstyle he's trying to make. He knows that they need to have that first blood, and I think for NIP, a team where has a much more slower playstyle of what we've seen, Ollie, having that opening kill is vital for how you kind of lay out the plan off your attack.
And this is something that you do often see NIP pick up the pace after they get that opening. If something goes their way early on in the round, that's it. That is their entry.
They have the safety net now.
And that's the way that they can now look to try and apply pressure. Taking out the Wamai is a good pick because there's no magnets that are going to generate over time.
What?
You question the shotgun pick demo. Gemini's like, I don't need the shotgun. I don't need the primary. I'm just going to use the pistol.
Laundry, Ollie? What's he doing down here?
I mean, he's probably dropped the hatch demo. He's looking to play aggressive here with the 612. He's not going for a run out, but no, gets shut down by Julio. A strange play from Gemini, who we've kind of billed as being the consistent one in the side of Mkers.
I said he's the guy who would make things happen, but that's not going to make anything. The only thing that's going to make is, as a fool of yourself, I really don't know what he was thinking. Sure, you got one kill. But if I was him, you have the shotgun. Why are you trying to run outside? Surely you would just wait at a doorway, let somebody run at you and just blast their face off. Nobody is expecting a shotgun Legion.
It isn't something that you expect. Unfortunately, we're not going to get to see how it actually plays on out, as he did get himself taken on out. Now, the round again has trickled on to this final 40-second mark. We are going to start seeing Selmas deployed there on the master bedroom wall. Thatcher, not an operator we've seen banned a great deal so far at SI, at least the games that we've been keeping our eyes on, is going to make opening that wall nice and easy. Muzi, how are you bled prone next to the bomb site? You're going to be able to find yourself some successes there, but instead, no, he's going to give it all up and he's going to drop down. Kamikaze looking to try and get that plant down. Kills continue to fly in for NIP. Sasha, he's going to be challenging over onto East Stairs. Muzi comes in with the shutdown. Strange stuff there from Mkers in the dying few seconds, but I think the sheer confusion of having an Ash laid prone inside a statuary was enough to throw a cat among those pigeons.
Cat amongst the pigeons? Someone's been watching their Soccer Sunday knowledge, have we?
It's a classic northern phrase, cat among the pigeons.
Chris Kamara. Bit of Cammy. Yeah, weird round. First of all, we have to obviously acknowledge the whole situation inside of Laundry, which was, yeah, just the Legion shotgun to begin with was just bizarre. And then NIP just kind of walked into the bomb site. I don't know how else to explain it. It was extremely strange, and yeah, Mkers didn't really look as if they were in it. That's better from NIP though. Is that maybe just playing into they've got the opening pick and they do stuff like that, Ollie?
I think it's playing into the opening pick. They got that early advantage. It was a weird round. You know, we saw Legion picking the 612. Just a strange situation to find yourself in. There was a lot of out-of-position defenders there, in my opinion, and it was something that NIP really took quite a big advantage of. The opening pick, did it make that much of an impact? I'd probably argue not, but it is something that NIP want to try and double down on here, and you can kind of see that in who they are bringing. Now, Aqui, he's been getting himself out there on the roam quite regularly. Who's the best person to bring if you need to find a Roma demo? It is going to be a Jackal. Who's the second best person that you need to bring if you need to find a Roma? Oh, there we go, our good friend Dokkaebi. Julio going to be picking the Dokkaebi as well. A Jackal and Dokkaebi combination, the Inox tracker and the logic bombs. Ooh, bad time to be a Roma.
And there is a combination, even to an extent, is IQ plus Dokkaebi calls. If a defender gets a phone call and tries to turn it off, the IQ can see the phone as a gadget, and then you can get floor banged or wall banged. So it is a very scary tactic. We don't see it be pulled off all too often, but it is not out of the reach of doable. Let's see how Mkers will respond now. They have another defense to go. See how they take on this trophy statuary this time around. And I think for Mkers, the main goal for them is don't give away that first pick.
It really is to stay alive. Lolo already giving up any control that they were holding of Aviator and Games Room. That wall being aggressively opened, it was never going to be somewhere they could play for too much time. They have dedicated 2 reinforcements to it though. I don't think that's going to have left them light anywhere else. Selma's now going off from Closet in towards Showers. It cuts off the rotation. NIP very focused here on that master bedroom control.
Yeah, going very basic in terms of their layout, and there goes the impact tricking again. This is something that Mkers did extremely well against Parabellum. Unfortunately for NIP, they have felt the same wrath, and that's all their Selma's gone. And Ollie, if you cannot open triple wall for this bomb site, it is horrific to attack. NIP are going to have to pull off something very, very magical, and looking at the way Mkers are set up, they've realized this, and they're not giving any picks away. 4 of them are on site.
It's something Mkers are going to consistently try and do as well. Banning out the Hibana, it lends itself perfectly to those impact tricks. We are now seeing a Logic Bomb phone call come on in. Haven't seen Pino immediately jump into the scanner, so he isn't going to gather any live information, but it's a nice audio cue nonetheless. Gives you an idea of where these defenders are. It's not that NIP are starved for intel. They've still actually got 6 drones here. So there's plenty of intel available, but something they are running out of, again, is going to be time.
And also remember, there is still 3 toxic babes from the smoke available, and even to an extent the C4s if they want to try and toss some of those out. NIP have opened up with the first kill onto Gemini. He gets eliminated at statue door. Scato has the Goyo shield to use as his cover. There goes the toxic babe. 2 of them have pushed in. Can Scato kill any of them? He's jiggle peeking up and down as much as he can through this shield. He has scared away NIP for the moment. Another toxic babe gets thrown out as well. And now NIP, they're at standstill. Where are they going to go? In towards bathroom is where they'll take a trip, but Akwi and Lolo find 2 to put it in Mkers' advantage. Kamikaze trying his best to push in now. He has to go up for the kill. He will find it now. A 2 versus 2. Psycho finds a double. Another one falls, but no, Mkers win on time. NIP against the clock, not working for them. Mkers have enough to see them through another round.
Impressive stuff there when push came to shove from Mkers. Really holding on tight, holding on for dear life. Round count advantage still with NIP, but that was a big round. That could have been match point there for them. And Mkers just managed to edge themselves a little bit closer to leveling things up and maybe taking an advantage here. Kamikaze had the opportunity. Another 2 seconds here and he would have been able to do something about it. All those kills came in perfect succession. All he needed was 1 more second to hold F, because that's not a bad plant spot. It's almost default.
Yeah, whenever you get into the crouch position, you can't see anyone planting there. So yeah, definitely they had that potential. Just time, Ollie. That's all we can say for NIP is time is against them. Their pushes are very, very strong, Ollie. But they need to have an extra 10 seconds. If they had 3 minutes 10, NIP would have won the game by now.
They'd still be using every second though, that's the problem. You could give them more time and they would just use another 10 seconds somewhere else. It's heartbreaking to watch that round, honestly. You play that round out again, you simulate that round under the exact same circumstance, add an extra 1 second, watch Kamikaze get the plant and watch them win the round. That is literally the margin here inside of Siege and the margin of this game. Could be massive at the moment. We are yet still to find out how much of an impact it will have as NIP are still in the lead.
Lion is now making an appearance. Changed 2 information operators, only 4, essentially 2 information operators. Jackal and Doke be gone. We see the Lion be brought, and also the Iana, who is a very strong operator currently in the meta. We see a lot of teams bring this operator, not only just for the information, for the nade you get, for the potential you get in terms of entering with the weapons at your disposal. Very well-rounded operator.
Kind of surprised to see such a big shift. You know, we've dropped an IQ, a Jackal and a Dokkaebi there, and we've gained an Iana, a Zafir and a Lion. So there's been quite a big shift there in the lineup from NIP. Obviously they know that they're going to be going to Aviator Games Room here. It's all about what they're going to be able to do with the tools that they have brought. As the rounds have gone on, we've kind of seen less roam game from Mkers, so I almost question, to a degree, the Lion pick, because I'm not sure how much value that is truly going to have.
Maybe that's what they need for their final couple of seconds to push into the bomb site, is just that information. They will use one of the scans for that early info if anyone is lurking below, which is primarily what they're trying to open up, is get downstairs, use the vertical game, which has been heavily done inside of Villa, but no, Ash is going to destroy all of the Goyo shields, and Psycho, look at his HP, he's lucky to be alive, and equally so is Lolo, look at his HP.
Big chip damage on either side. Gemini getting chunked down a little bit more there as the war is being raged vertically here. Moosey's got himself onto main stairs, able to set himself up some information. A lot of players in on the site here. We really need to see something being opened here, Demo.
A minute to go, NIP, they need that 90 control, an area which needs to be controlled by the attackers if they have any hope of winning this bomb site. There goes the second Lion scan. One more still remains in the back pocket if they need it. Pino, you have to get on that 90 window, buddy. You need to try and control that, but no, instead leaves it alone, and now Mkers have that potential of, I don't know, maybe a quick flank through 90. That could be an option for them. Mkers, all they need to do is just hold on. Bit of deja vu, perhaps, from the last round for them, is just sit in sight and hope for the best.
They've still got some impacts as well that they could use to try and keep themselves safe. But in fact, no Selmas do remain. Pino with a swing does take down Akwi. It's a bit of an unnecessary swing there from him as look at these kills start to come on in. Psycho's down. Kamikaze has been taken out. It leaves us 3 versus 3. Muzi from the vault finds one onto Gemini. 14 seconds left to go. Sasha shuts him down. Pino with the trade. 2 versus 1. 7 seconds left to go. Essentially locked into a 1 versus 1. Julio trying to recover the diffuser, goes for the swing, hits the headshot onto the bottom of 90. Scato, he's going to fall. NIP leave it to the dying seconds yet again.
It was a 1v1. There was a down player. All he had to do was run away, but he went for the re-peek onto 90. Oh, that is a gut-wrencher for Mkers, but NIP salvaging the round. Oh, Ollie, they're cutting it way too close for my liking. Way too close.
Before we got into this game, I told you, I said, NIP, get prepared for a long one because these guys take their time on the attack. We have seen the sub 10-second mark in every single one of their attacking rounds so far. It does, however, put them onto a match point. Now, Mkers, not happy with the way that Aviator Games is going. They're going to take us downstairs. They're going to try and hit that reset button. They're going to take us down to Dining Kitchen.
Switch up. And now in the bomb site. No denial in terms of projectiles for Mkers. Jaeger or the Wamai not being chosen. A very heavy roam setup. You see a Mute, you see a Mozzie, and you see a Vigil. I mean, that's always going to be a setup that you expect to be very in-depth in terms of denial of information, and I think NIP, they've definitely focused on the information. Maybe that's why they're taking so long, Ollie, is they need as much as they can get. Mkers, they're putting the strategy to essentially deny all of that and give them even more time to work with. We talk about NIP being slow with information. How slow are NIP going to be without information?
They might be a lot slower here as a cheeky little C4 does get tossed on out. Pino isn't going to be too worried about that one. Not going to hit onto its mark. But there are plenty of C4s available on the side of Mkers. If you look around to the right-hand side of the screen, you will see that 4 out of the 5 players brought one. Still 3 remain. Akwi having the impact. Psycho going to get some free intel here. Able to get the track onto Lolo. That's a pretty big one. Figure out where the pulse is playing. Pino, Psycho, 2 quick kills there. This could be the end here for Mkers. Some quick fire aggression taking out that roam game.
Mkers need to go big now. NIP have that man advantage, and it's a big one at that. Akwi gone, who was the big player for Mkers, who since the rehost hasn't really looked as if he's in for it. Also taking out Gemini as well, the 2 quote-unquote best players at the moment for Mkers off the board. Scato, Lolo, Sasha need to dig their heels in and go not even massive, ginormous, Ollie.
They really do. It is going to be a tough time here for them. Lolo, I think he's pre-placed his C4 there, but Pino just going to skirt around it for the time being. Breach there, gonna go off, maybe even destroying it, but Psycho comes in with the frag, make that 2 as he's on for a triple kill. It's 5 versus 1, Sasha has it all to do, a flawless round from NIP. Muzi picks up the final kill here on Villa, and they are gonna say GG. They take the map there against Mkers.